so we talk about time zones.
Okay, we're live. Okay, everybody, howdy. Thanks for joining us. Welcome to the SEO Training Dojo Friday chat. Dave is probably going to show up a little bit late because he had to take his missus to the hospital, and he's probably plowing through a foot or so of snow on the road, so that's going to slow him down a little bit.
We only got a couple inches.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It looked like he had more than that when he was showing us.
Oh, yeah, well, he's just north of here, and that's where the snow really drops.
Kevin, what you been up to, buddy?
Been dealing with Facebook logins for mass, like from an agency level. Like we're starting to incorporate business manager into our clients' accounts, because if they're doing Facebook ads as well as local, or we're getting dinged on that for multiple logins for being logged in as an agency. So we're going to switch that over. It's just been a fun nightmare. Okay. Because not every client's doing it. So.
Of course not. What you, Terry? Who you been threatening today?
Oh, today? No one.
Yeah, but it's early.
Yeah, there's a couple. Yeah. I've been working on a few things. Can't talk about them, though. Secret.
I'd have to kill you. Huh?
These are secrets, so, we can't be sharing the secrets.
Steve?
Just doing shit as usual.
Yeah. Terry's been recruited by CSIS to spy on the CIA. Yeah, it's just been a normal week. Just been basically doing what I always do on sites. Oh, I was doing some URL structures, and really, 2 years into this site, and I'm just getting around to straightening out the URL structures now because there was so much other stuff to do. And so yeah, that's that. And I did a couple rank checking on the site, and I was very, very pleasantly surprised at how well 2 of the sites that I've been working on are doing. They're doing really well.
Good.
What are you doing, Doc?
Well, I've been doing some research for the last couple of days, taking care of some minor upkeep on one client site and making some upgrades on another one, and doing some research, kind of follow up. I got the bug under my bonnet again about after we did that webinar the other day, Dave and I, on RankBrain. So I've been doing some more in-depth research on vectors and TensorFlow, and finding some interesting stuff that kind of gets the juices flowing. Oh, that's been fun.
Cool. I haven't even tried TensorFlow. I've opened it up a couple times and thought, oh, I'm going to do this, and then life took over. Uh-oh. So what have you been finding, Doc?
Well, I guess, I mentioned to you in the green room that Danny Goodwin's doing an article here coming up on Search Engine Journal, and he's just looking for some input from people on what they predict as 2019 trends. And I think that we're going to see the technology behind RankBrain appearing in a lot more areas. I think it's probably already in use in some areas, probably, for instance, with voice search, probably in things like Google Assistant. But if they're not already playing with it, I suspect they're also going to start using it before long in ranking, actually applying word vector and paragraph vectoring to understand and analyze. So that's kind of interesting, and it gets some thoughts flowing. What could you do with this technology? Well, imagine, I don't know how many of you guys ever watched Star Trek, You know, remember that universal translator they had?
Oh, yes, yes.
Well, imagine an earbud that you put in your ear, and it hears what's going around you and translates it and reads it back to you in your language. So you could sit there and watch a French movie. You can sit there and speak with some Russian. And if you both had a device, you know, you could communicate pretty well. And really, things like Google Translate have improved dramatically since it first came out. I mean, it was a piece of crap early on, and it's gotten to be pretty darn usable. I mean, I would not use it strictly Google Translate to convert web pages and expect it to rank well. But in terms of getting the general meaning of a document, I think it's improved dramatically. So, yeah, I can see a lot of this technology ended up being in place at some point, and whether it'll be 2019 or not. But I mean, as recently as last year, people were saying we're not going to see anything even approaching AI for at least 10 or 15 years. And I think, no, I think we're already seeing something approaching AI. You know, true AI, I could see it happening within 4 or 5 years.
So you think they're going to, within the next couple of years, start to apply word to vector on to actual web pages, not just queries?
Conjecture on my part, but I think they probably are already playing with that.
I think Hummingbird does that.
I think it's a real possibility. Yeah, it's a real possibility.
Because
I think
one thing that, sorry to cut you off, Doc.
No problem.
In regards to that, one of the discussions we had on testing was Dr. Pete mentioned that the number of keywords, right, is falling that you need to rank. Well, that would be directly a result of this, because before it counted matches and the number of times a page, something appeared on a page. Now it's more about the different words that appear in the, you know, it's more about a lot of different concepts in the page rather than matching keywords. And
So
I think we'll see that continue to become more and more prominent because I'm looking at someone's site right now that had, you know, it was written like we would have written in early 2000. In other words, lots of exact match uses of the term you're trying to rank for. And in the last 2 years, she's steadily dropped. Not a lot, but you can see it growing, basically.
What you're saying, Terry, is you think that they're looking deeper into the semantic basket and deciding how in-depth the page is going, depending on what semantically related terms they're finding on the page.
Right. And kind of like what Doc was saying in the green room about the vectors and the angles. That works for a page too, especially when they can break it down to what? The sentence now, right, Doc?
There, you've got word to vec, sentence to vec, paragraph to vec, and there's already effort being put towards looking at vectorization of an entire document. And that's interesting because, you know, what we were talking about earlier about vectors, they can take these different words and they're each assigned a vectors, you know, a set of coordinates, and they can be averaged to give you a set of coordinates for the context of that phrase or sentence, okay? Well, the same thing could be done on a document basis. And this is where I think your content strategy needs to become context strategy, because if you're all over the map talking about 16 different topics on that page, the average of those vectors is not going to be anywhere near what it should be for the context you want to talk about. So when you start dropping all these different keywords in there, you're just distracting.
Yeah, I can, when Dave and I were working on a project for a friend of mine, this was a pro bono deal, and we couldn't figure out why it was hit by Panda. And we went to Matt and asked him, you know, we can't see this. And he said, well, look at that column. You're confusing us. That's the problem. So just like you said, and some of it was a little irrelevant, and that really makes it bad. That's why those related articles, if it isn't bang on, it's hurting your rankings.
Yep.
I'm sorry. Remove the thing. And
yeah, I think in a page, you know, where you've got different containers, like let's say a sidebar, I think
right.
some disparate content is okay, but to put it in the main content container, like you're saying, if you've got related articles and they're not bang on, yeah, you've just muddied the water terribly. It just
that was in the margin, and it changed with every page. So it wasn't a static part of the page, so it would have adjusted with each one and do the same thing on each page.
Yeah, I think
those
getting
problems went away.
Really dialing in your focus on context is become increasingly important, and it's just going to get more so because, again, you know, you're taking all of the words and you're averaging their contextual coordinates together to come up with a set of coordinates for either a phrase or a sentence or a paragraph or perhaps that container. And if you've got a bunch of garbage in there, you know, it's just you screwed up the entire recipe. You're hiding the sweet with too much salt. You know, you've got to stay focused.
That's why you see some people use a strategy of multiple sites with very tight topic targets, right? You can do quite well with a strategy like that if you can manage the foundational linking and all the other stuff you have to do to support multi-sites. But if you can handle the linking part of it, go for it. And these days, if you're just looking for local, that can be a really good strategy because you don't need as many links to compete usually in the local markets.
Yeah.
And so we're going back to Terry's idea of the hub pages too, and you're better off if you have a topic to write a separate page for it and do 250 or 300 words, then try to do 1,000 words on a page of varying topics, and then just bring it all back to the hub. And the other thing is when you're building your hub page, maybe you just don't put anything on there that you can't link out to a sub page to. And that way Google understands that this is a hub page and it's linking to these very specific pages.
That's how it is it's easy to see what the theme is on that page and what the context is. That's what I like about it. And there was a time when those didn't work as good as they worked really well. Then it kind of went down, but it's on the rise again. Yeah.
So if we're looking at Kevin's industry, we'd be looking at trucks as the hub page, and then the separate brands under trucks, and then the separate models under the brands.
Yep, but trucks should be under automobiles.
Right. Well, or just vehicles. And that's always the thing.
Automobiles, because a vehicle can be a wagon.
Tractor, it could be a tractor. It could be a snowmobile. It would be under automobile.
Or transportation, something like that.
Yeah, you must drill down like that in your industry, eh?
Yes. Hey. that came across much more condescending than it ever is.
Welcome to SEO in Canada.
I'm much more of a Canadian in Texas. See, look,
there you go.
Well, right back at you, Kevin. That dog don't hunt.
Hey, yeah.
It's interesting when I hear truck, the last thing I think of is automobile. I think of those as being very distinct kinds of vehicles. I don't see trucks as a subset of automobile, but maybe it's just me. I don't know.
Well, I don't either. We have
Right.
trucks. We say trucks and cars quite often.
Exactly. We think of it as cars and trucks, and like the hardest thing was being able to draw the line between SUVs. Do they go underneath of trucks, or do they go under? Like, well, that's why we get away from cars and think of it more like automobiles if we're going to do it. If we're going to stack it down that way. But what users, but it's also interesting because like our dealers on a regular basis want us to market pre-owned vehicles and pre-owned cars, and nobody searches for that. People search for used cars. Like, but it's funny when your industry or your consumers dictate what the vernacular that they're using versus what you want them to be. Like you could say whatever you want about it being a copy machine, but everybody is going to call it a Xerox machine because that's the way that we refer to things. So like,
it's a good way to lose your trademark.
Right. But you could try forever. Like it's funny, you watch automobiles and car dealers on TV and in other avenues, and they always talk about pre-owned this and pre-owned that. And the number one searches for most of our dealers is used cars, used trucks.
How big a factor, Kevin?
What, Mike?
By about like 30%. It's amazing.
Yeah.
The difference between what they want versus what they're I would say it's about 30, maybe 35% more in radio and TV versus search. The numbers don't match, but they don't understand.
But that's just merchandising.
Yep.
You don't want to say something's used.
Exactly.
Tawdry. You want to say it's pre-owned, like it's something precious.
Exactly. That's why on Amazon you can buy refurbished.
Yeah.
Not returned. We broke it, we returned it, and we restocked it. So we take all of those things and turn them into refurbished. Newly refurbished. Oh, really? Because when you sent it to me, the package didn't look newly refurbished. It looked like
sounds better than saying we've got this used piece of shit we're going to sell you as though it's new.
Exactly. But like when you look at like CarMax and places that all they are is used car dealers, they have embraced that term. So they don't try. They say everything, but we don't mind if the dealers say that. They just have to understand that most people are still going to search for used cars. Like we don't optimize for voice search for a pre-owned vehicle because it hurts to say pre-owned vehicle. Like you have to think about that to say that instead of just I'm looking for a used car.
Well, there's not only does it sound a little bit more snooty and refined, it actually has a slightly different implication. Used can mean that its useful life has been, partially exhausted, whereas pre-owned implies something like, well, it was great before and somebody owned it. Now it's still great and you can own it.
Well, there's also, I think, another implication.
That would be like I'm employing pre-employed people.
Yeah,
like,
you are.
Like I'm looking forward to bringing in some.
Are you trying to hire used people? No, nobody wants used people.
I think there's another implication to pre-owned as well. It sounds a little bit more formal, as though the average user realizes that a business cannot sell something used and say that it's new. They realize that they have to legally disclose the fact that it's not brand new. And saying pre-owned versus used makes it sound as though you're meeting a legal obligation. And I think a lot of people understand the fact that if I take it out of the store and bring it back an hour later because it doesn't fit, they can't put that back in stock and sell it as new.
Yeah, but what they can do, my favorite new one, is the nearly new. Nearly new, almost new. We drove it around the block, and it's
like new. Now you see like new quite a bit.
Like new, yeah.
But I heard one of those said nearly new.
I have a client in the stem cell world, and so it's a whole new world, stem cell medical treatments, and we're still trying to figure out. I mean, because people don't know how to type things in. We're basically doing stuff for arthritis and stuff for sports injury, and it's all over the map. we don't know what people are doing yet. So it's a we're building up a whole new vernacular.
Right. That is the difficult thing when you're in it, like when you watch some of these entrepreneurial shows or something, and they talk about, like, I have a new product. But when you have to educate you have to create your market, you have to create your customer base and tell them what you are. So you spend a lot of time trying to create the industry that you're then going to try to dominate, if that makes sense. Like you have to figure out what people, you have a stake in how they're going to refer to those things going forward if you do it just right.
Which is kind of a nice position to be in sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
It is because it leaves things and because your competitors will miss it.
Yep. If you, I think in every industry, automotive, everything, if you go to the consumer first and you spend, if you're just starting out, like with a new SEO client, that's what I try to, when I was my consulting and when I do side work, is try to explain to them that if I don't know the industry, it's important to do as much research as you possibly can, because otherwise you might step off in the wrong direction and spend all of your efforts and so on going the wrong way without spending the extra effort to figure out what you're dealing with in the beginning.
Yes, I have another client in the fire sprinkler world, and it's what do people call these things? They call them sprinklers, but if you type in sprinklers, half your stuff is for lawn sprinklers.
That's really weird. I have a guy I went to college with. It was like one of my best friends is a fire protection engineer,
but no one's going to punch that in.
No. But it was like, wait, now we're talking about sprinklers. Yes, and it's like I agree that's like what Doc was talking about in the green room. I think it was in the green room with the dining room table and the buffet, about just the words that have two different meanings depending on what words they're associated with.
And sprinklers are often associated with water, and a lot of the fire suppression systems that he sells have nothing to do with water. They're spitting out this foam stuff that smothers the fire, and so
or gas, yeah, like halon, or what, I forget what they call the replacement for halon now.
We have one video where they're filling up an aircraft hangar with this white foam, and in space of 3 minutes they have 10 feet of foam everywhere, and they have to get the guys out that were doing. They had to get the camera crew out because, of course, it'll suffocate them. So yeah.
Steve, I'm wondering, on the stem cell thing, you couldn't actually do keyword research for that, could you?
Well, you kind of do. Again, it's just in the Google keyword planner, just to see what people are punching in. I mean, there are people punching stuff in.
But you have to start by giving it keywords. It'll only give you keyword research that's as good as the words that you're starting with.
Yeah. And you turn it around and you go further. Pardon? Pardon?
Go ahead, Terry, go ahead.
Oh, I'm done. I just...
I didn't hear what you said.
Oh, I said that's only as good as the words that you start with. So if you don't start with the right words, the keyword planner is not going to give you good data.
No, but they'll give you, you can kind of, it takes a long time. You just kind of look through it and say, oh, well, that kind of fits. So let's go down that rabbit hole for a while. And you just keep on going back and putting the keywords into the... What's that?
Did you use the related terms that are in the SERP?
Yes. Use related terms, and then the little terms, the other ones that are at the bottom, like the autocomplete and the related terms at the bottom, and you put it all into the keyword stuff at the top, and then you just keep on adding it. And yeah, the new keyword planner doesn't work so well. You can't do it.
No,
with the
it's crap.
Yeah,
It's
I don't.
crap. I use. I'm using SEM Rush now. I like it. It brings in all the related broad match? I think it is. It does a pretty good job. And I've actually found key audiences and keywords using it. So
Yeah.
I find it much better than the keyword planner. One of the things I would look at in a case like that is start with that keyword research, but then I look at the page and see what keywords it was ranking for in GSC.
Yes.
Yeah, I have a suggestion, Steve. Is your client, they're not medical, or like they're not a university or a hospital, are they?
They're a medical clinic. They're surgeons.
Do they have internal search on their page or on their
No,
site?
I didn't put it on the page, but I did have it on the page. I should probably put
Either
it
that, or maybe even reaching out to and this might be a stretch, but if I was doing the initial keyword research, like reaching out to any contacts you have at university or at like at a hospital, something that is featured on that, because if they have internal search, that might lead you to what people who go there looking for more information are looking for. That's just,
That's a good idea, because of course surgeons, they all talk amongst themselves and they speak a different language.
or if they have any message boards or even email communication or something, like I would mine through the data that they have been asked, even a simple form to some of the surgeons, and say, what are your not clients, but what are your patients? What type of questions do they ask you? And then that might help you figure out how to take the research or the keyword research to find what people are looking for.
Yeah, I think that's part of the problem with using some of these out of these CMSs. They provide search, but don't really keep track of what's being searched for.
Yeah, they don't log them.
Yeah, which is, if I was writing anything with,
although on the
I would
upside,
always
Terry,
log it.
but on the upside, Terry, if you're using WordPress, that extra 3 million pages you're finding in your site audit is probably going to be a lot of search information if you just want to go through it manually.
So I should ask that question now that you brought that up, Doc. When you're using all-in-one, you can tell it to not make URLs for categories and tags, and that's generally what I've been doing, just so that I don't get that, well, I'm going to call it URL bloat, because you end up getting, if you have 3 tags and 3 categories, I don't know, that gives you 9 extra URLs for every URL that those are on.
Yep.
And
yeah,
so
I remove tags. Go right into the codex and remove tags, so they can put whatever they want in there. It ain't gonna show up on any pages.
I'm with you. Steve, have you tried Answer the Public?
I don't know what that is.
Oh, it's great.
That's a good thing.
That's a good tool.
Yeah, answerthepublic.com.
The guy that looks like he could be me, but
yeah, well, yeah, well, I wouldn't say that. He's kind of a creepy looking guy, I think. And you're not.
All it really does, though, all it's doing is scraping the related.
That's
all it's doing.
It is, but at least it does right. But it does it well.
It does it well. That's the difference. Just like Link Prospector does what a lot of other things do, but they do it better.
It saves you a bunch of time.
And they do an excellent job of keeping hold of that. Like they're mining us while we mine it.
So there's a pro version, and I don't know, because I'm not going to pay for it. I don't really know what that would add to the picture, but it might be worth taking a look at. I just put in stem cell, and it's got all kinds of interesting possibilities. And I think it sort of indicates frequency with sort of shading of a color code there. So that might be worth it.
Right. Well, I wrote it down. I'll have a look at that next week. So
Yeah,
what is
their
everybody?
pro is $50 a month.
Yeah, is that what it is?
What's everybody using for keyword research these days? Now that
SEMrush.
that you're using SEMrush, I know.
Ahrefs also has a pretty good tool. I'm using both of those.
Yeah.
And are we consensus that the new keyword planning tool in AdWords really sucks?
Pretty
Yeah,
much.
I am.
Yep. It
No disagreement here.
yeah. It kind of makes you wonder, why do they do things like that where they break something that was working? But well,
because they don't want us to use it.
Well,
yeah.
what I saw is that they've added the keyword tool into the keywords module, and so what they're wanting you to do is just add add the keywords on bulk.
I think you're right.
Of course, you get more clicks and they get more money.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I really don't like the new or the current AdWords interface. It's in general, I think it's hard to use.
Yeah,
I'm getting used to the interface, but the tool is the keyword tool. Just it boggles me.
Yeah, it doesn't work the way it should.
To Terry's suggestion about SEMrush, there's a lot of aspects of that I like. A lot of filtering capabilities and a lot of refinement that you can make in terms of what it shows, and it attempts to if you're looking at a particular website, it'll attempt to show you what percentage of their visitor traffic comes from a given keyword, which is kind of neat. I like that. Ahrefs shows you a bunch of different information, things like how frequently people come back and search again for a term, given keyword. So they're both useful. I don't know. There's more information than I can actually consume there.
Do
I think.
you get a lot of repeat stuff in your industry?
You mean do searchers do a lot of repeat stuff?
Yeah, they come back to your site and search the same thing again and again.
They do, and actually, what's interesting, I've begun using call tracking metrics the last 6 months or so, and we get a lot of repeat callers to more really that show up as somebody that uses a phone number that they find in our GMB knowledge panels than on the websites even. So I'm not sure what to make of that just yet, except that I'm all the more in my particular industry drawn to really optimizing the heck out of the GMB.
Oh, I would think there's I mean, that's where people get phone numbers now. It's from GMB. Yeah. And I don't even know whether they're even showing phone numbers anymore on mobile. That's just like call.
Well, that's a good point.
Just call. But the call's hooked to a number.
Yeah, the call is hooked to a number, but yeah, they if they're searching mobile, they just push call and it just calls the number.
It's hooked to the number in your GMB knowledge panel.
Right.
Settings. Yeah.
Right. Yes, I mean I have one small client who has a website and a GMB page, and he gets far more hits from the GMB page for hours and for directions and for calls all the time. And he changes his hours all the time because he's on holidays all the time. But yeah, he people go there to find out his hours.
Does he get any Q&As? Do people ask him questions?
No, he's a chiropractor, so there really isn't a lot of Q&A stuff.
I was curious, since he changes his hours, maybe that I could see them.
Well, I put up posts for him. I do. Dr. Murray's on vacation again. Put up a picture.
Nice.
You're overpaying.
Nice. You should make sure you put up, if he's a Canadian, like make sure you put up palm trees and be like, he's on vacation again.
I do. I put up pictures of girls in bikinis, and this is what Dr. Murray's looking at right now.
So actually, Kevin's got a really good point, though. it's important to monitor the Q&A stuff, the questions and answers, because if you don't, sure enough, somebody will post a question like, this guy's always on vacation. Why the heck would anyone ever choose this chiropractor? I don't know why anyone would.
Well, not only exactly that, somebody would be funny with that, and then somebody else will be funny. Like Tim and I could have a conversation on the Q&A.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's why you have to. It is imperative that you're paying attention to that, because you don't. Sometimes your local guides can be a great resource to helping your business, but often they answer things the way you don't want this being said.
So if you have things set up right, you do get notified about questions and answers.
Right.
But you know what I do? I make sure that for our clients, we set up in advance a scripted, basically like a mini FAQ. There are one or two tricks. Like you want to make sure that you use an independent or a fake Gmail account to pose the questions and then answer them using your company.
Which really, that's a great idea, Tim, because it still bugs me that in the original, when they announced questions and answers, like from the Google My Business blog, it said that you would be able to post your own questions to, basically you could post your own FAQ down the line. And then that's never come to fruition, which has really bugged me, because
you can, you just better use two accounts.
Right. No, but what I mean is that they originally said it like it would be a feature, like it would be one of those that you could go in there as the business and say, look, here's our frequently asked questions and here's our answers to our frequently asked questions. Yeah. It's annoying to me that they said it, because I used to say that at conferences and pitches, and they never.
I tell you what I see mostly, and this is with mostly home health and hospice and other senior related services. I see questions like, are you guys hiring? Or where can I go to apply? Or can I come see you in your office? And stuff like that. It's, we've only gotten one or two that were kind of snarky or hostile.
Well, a lot of ours are service related on the dealership pages. So that's another thing that we've been doing now with the secondary listings. The list, I guess the mall listings or the inside of other listings in Google My Business, they used to just appear and you would claim them, but now Google, you can create them. So we're, for all of our dealers, creating the service location with inside of the car dealership.
Yeah.
So the hope is that if you have a service related question, you go to the service related GMB page.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. I would say that at a minimum, you want to go to your clients and create a mini FAQ there with a Q&As, and that way it might actually accomplish two things. One is it gives you more rich content right in the Google My Business listing, which is good, but also it might actually prevent somebody from posting a question that you otherwise might have answered, and you probably will do a better job of presenting it and answering it. So, as far as posting posts, a couple of things that are worth thinking about. If you want to create a post and you do it as a post, instead of an event or an offer, it only lasts for 7 days.
Yeah, I thought it was 14, but okay.
If you create it as an event, but it still really is basically a post where you're presenting some kind of content, that's okay, and it will persist longer than 7 days.
Right, the event will stay as long as the event, up until the event. If you put the event as Christmas, you can post it today and it will stay until Christmas.
Yeah. Or that's true with an offer. You can do that with an offer too, and you can still have the call to action, the button, say whatever you want it to, learn more, whatever. So
the other thing is, if the post, if they're expiring, Google doesn't penalize you for reposting the same post. Like,
true.
You can post the same thing, which I appreciate, that they're not like, oh, you keep doing this. And we actually got the alert. It's funny, they will tell you, you've reposted this 4 times. You can set this to an event and it will hold it out. I was like, oh, look, they gave you the loophole. That's pretty impressive. They know
somebody's head will roll for that. They actually gave you something helpful.
Yeah, really. Yeah. Another thing regarding posts, I may have mentioned this before. Okay, so a practice that we have for most of our clients is we post fresh content to their site every week, a page or a post. And there's a free plugin for WordPress sites called WP Google My Business Auto Post, I think, that will pick those up and automatically create posts from them. Or in fact, now it'll create an event or a offer or a post
on your GMB page.
Yeah, and so it will occasionally not work for some reason or another, but it's pretty reliable, and it's free. So, like, we've gotten in the habit of most of the regular posting that we're doing with posts is just putting up a teaser about the new content that we put on the client site.
So just a quick question: Does it use your featured image?
Uses the featured image. It uses, and it gives you the option to create a little fairly crude template that has basically fields you can put in for title, content, entire content, excerpt, but you actually have to fill in the excerpt field in the post, and author. So I haven't, it's funny, I've sort of resisted using that a whole lot. At least our articles are too long to fit in the content area, and I've never made my writing team put excerpts in before manually. I've been trying to figure out how I'm going to break that to them, because I'm not going to pay them anymore for it. Anyway,
so does it link? Does it link to the long form content? Okay.
Yes, yeah, it's great. WP Google My Business Auto Post. The guy that wrote that plugin is pretty responsive to bug reports and things like that. He's in Australia, and he's got a paid plugin that he'd rather you use instead. But I mean, there's pros and cons to that. One other aspect that's pretty cool of the free one is that it will, if you want it to, also put up a feed of your Google reviews. So you can create a Google reviews page on your client site, and it will automatically populate that, which is kind of nice.
And does it do schema around the review?
I don't. I use a different tool for reviews, so I don't know. I suspect it does, though. This guy's pretty sharp.
But putting schema.
Now wait a minute. No, you wouldn't want schema. You wouldn't want review schema on Google reviews. You'd want them on first-party reviews.
Right.
Yeah. If you put it on Google reviews on your site, you might well get spanked.
I've put Google reviews on my site, but no schema around it. You're right.
Oh yeah, that's fine.
Oh no, I did put schema around it.
Well,
yeah, but then you're double dipping. You're
prepare to get spanked. Yeah.
Well,
you're asking Google to look for two things twice, or the same thing.
At the time when I put the schema around the reviews, they weren't posting reviews from the web on the Google My Business page.
That's a good answer, but you should take it down.
Yeah.
But Tim's right. You could get smacked or spanked for that.
Well, and especially when they first began supporting review schema, everybody was getting spanked for this. And I don't know if they made a special effort to manually go out and catch some people and make an example of them, but it's not worth it. I mean, it's better to get first-party reviews and use those for the review stars.
Yeah, I mean, putting schema around reviews manually is tough. It's a pain in the ass.
Yes.
I mean, it really is. I mean, compared to all the other things you can put schema around, reviews are very labor intensive.
One of the reasons why I use a review tool instead of trying to do it all myself.
Yep, I've got a plugin that works great for that. And
I have the one that you recommended, Doc. I forget what it's called now, but yeah, that's the one I ended up with.
It does a nice job.
Yes, it does.
Anyway, I guess you all probably know the other thing about that's fairly recent in terms of Google My Business is you can create listings of the goods or services that your client sells. So it used to be only restaurants could have menus. Well, now you can have products or services listed there. And I think those help you actually get found for those services, although I can't prove it through any testing because I don't test most things. I don't know.
Yeah, we're doing a test on that. We're from the service side, like trying to add the services within the service side, but I won't know what that, I won't have that data until probably the end of the year before I know, because it just happened a couple of weeks ago where the dealers started to see it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to pitch it or steer them to do it from a service standpoint, not the products, and have every model that they have in there, because I think that will come across spammy much more so than the services.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, what the practical limits are on it, if there are any, because that never comes up in the stuff that we do. But I haven't tested it. I'm speculating that might help you in search, but it might not. I don't know. I'm not. Honestly, I don't. I'm not a scientist. I don't test like guys like Terry and Dave and people like that do. I admire them and I trust them. So when they say something, I tend to believe it instead. So.
Yeah, that plugin is going into maintenance mode, Tim.
Oh, I know. Yeah, he wants to sell his product, his paid product.
Or it's being merged with something else that will do LinkedIn, Twitter, and some other. Puts everything into one app, which is his even better. What I'd like is, well, I guess it's too late now, is an automated way to post to Google communities.
Oh, well, yeah, that's going to be a moot point, isn't it?
Yeah, but if there was one around, I'd use it until I couldn't.
Yeah, that I don't know. Well, actually, I do know. Let me think about that for a minute. So I'm not sure this is what you want, but I use a tool for syndicating the new content we write for people on kind of a campaign basis to social media. It's called Missing a Letter, with the letter part spelled LETTR, so that it's a cute, brand name. But they will post. I'm pretty sure they will post to Google Plus still, unless they've removed it already.
Oh, I can post to Google Plus.
Well, I mean
to the community pages.
I mean to community pages. I'm sorry, that's what I'm referring to. So.
Oh, okay. What was the name of that one?
It's called Missing Letter. MISSINGLETTR.com.
Checking it out right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of cool. What it does is it creates a campaign that can stretch out as much as a year, where periodically it will put out a little teaser about the article in question, and says, hey, in case you missed it, and hey, we just published this, or hey, 9 months ago we published, or whatever. So it's pretty clever, actually.
So I'm not seeing the ability to post a menu or a service thing. So I'm wondering if it's only available in the US.
Oh, that could be, Steve. I'm not sure. Yeah. That's possible.
Is it just in the sidebar somewhere?
Let's see. It is in the the info dialog, info tab. It's, let's see. Let me see if I can figure out where it is.
It's like under websites or appointment URL, or I think it's right under your website information.
Let me bring one up and I'll tell you.
And then you can add items.
Services, add or edit items. I see it.
Yeah. There we go. Yep. You got to it before I could bring it up in mine.
Awesome. Okay.
And by the way, there's a couple of things that would save you a little time to know. One is you don't have to put prices in there. That's one thing. I guess that's one of the main things. So you don't have to. It doesn't require you to fill out all the fields that are there. So I'm honestly, for my clients, they're all service providers pretty much, and I just list categories. I forget what they're called, and then within them, services. So let's see, let me get to one of them here. So like I'll have a section, that's what it calls category sections, and then within that item, so I'll have a section like home healthcare, and then within that I might have home nursing, physical therapists, occupational therapists, speech, and stuff like that as individual services under the section.
I just clicked it and I see I've already filled it in.
Oh wow!
I didn't remember.
Okay, well there you go.
It's just
have you cloned yourself with that stem cell research? Did you maybe clone yourself?
Man.
The other thief did that.
It's a darn good thing I keep notes, because I don't know what I've done half the time. I get to something that I think I need to do, and I think, oh, it's already done. Well, who did that?
Good, as opposed to I have the alternative where I think things are getting done, and then I check in on some people and
Not so much.
Exactly. So where is this? Oh, that's on my list. Oh, that's funny. That was your list from a long time ago.
You have 20 minutes to get it on your completed list.
Or you ask them, is it done? And they go, oh yeah. And they say, is it really done? And they go, well, almost. There's actually a guy named Chris Lemma that's a figure in the WordPress world, and he talks about needing to make sure that things are done in order to know that you're really okay.
Yes, I think I've heard that before. The done. Is this done, or is this done? I have to run back to my desk before my boss can pull that up on his computer.
When we were selling our home care business to a guy that is local, he merged our business into his home care business. At one point in the negotiations, he said, "Well, are we just done or done?" And I said, "Oh my gosh, Chris Lemma." And he goes, "Yeah, he's in my small group from church." It's like, oh wow, what a small world.
Speaking about lists, I keep what I've done in two different things. I keep it in a Google sheet, but I start, Dave's always going on about the annotations and analytics, and I started to use that too, and that's, I only knew one way to do it, and then I found out you can do it from the admin menu, and that makes it a lot easier. So I go in there after the day, and I just say I did this, I did this, I did this. So what's everyone else doing to keep notes?
I don't keep them there, to be honest. I'll make a note. Let's see, is this called an annotation? Yeah, it is. When I start with a new client, I'll usually put a note in, but that's the only thing I put in analytics. I keep a lot of information though in a project management system. So
okay.
I use an Excel spreadsheet. I'm old school dinosaur, but I do make notations on things like a renewed contract or rebuilt site, that sort of thing, a major stuff. But the minor stuff I keep on an Excel spreadsheet.
Well, I've started to put it. Say again.
We use Salesforce. I've got a team of 35 people with 200 clients, so they have to have a project management software system. We use Teamwork before that. Personally, I use Evernote. I've been using it since it existed. I pay for it. I think it is worth it because almost, knock on wood, almost everything I've ever done is segmented out in Evernote so that I can go back and look at my notes.
Nice.
Yeah, I like the annotations because if you see some change in analytics, you can the annotation is right there.
That's a great point. I'm glad to be reminded of it.
Yeah, we use that. We have them do that. The consultants do that for big things, like basically with the clients and stuff like that, especially as things switch back and forth. It's nice to be able to, when there's either a dip or a rise in traffic, anything that happens, or if we make a consistent change, we've always annotated in analytics.
Yeah, especially if you're doing any testing, that's a great place to keep it.
I should do that at least for things like when we do a redesign for a client that we've had for a while and things like that.
And I'm pretty sure you can keep there's annotations that everybody can see, and then there's annotations that are listed to just a profile. So you can do it for yourself too if you're like, if you write really specific annotations, like, did I break something right here? That the client doesn't have to see that, like, made change, wasn't so happy about that, or, you know, so just something to keep in mind.
Or if it takes a sudden turn upward, you can add the public one that says, and instituted brilliant strategy at this point.
Or, as I put it, I just write, called it.
Yeah, called it. Yeah,
called it. Like, did you know what was going to happen? No. Yes.
Or if it trends down, you could say, "Ah, some other dude did it."
Yeah.
That's what I always say. If you like anything I've said, you can find me at kevindory.com. If you don't like anything I've said, it's SEO Dojo.
There you go. There you go. Yeah. One time, my wife and I went on a trip to Hawaii on this funky airline that only had one airplane. On the way back, they said something like, "We hope you've enjoyed your flight. If so, let us know. If you haven't, please contact, PSA or some other airline." Back in the
really, an airline, if they only have one plane, isn't that just one plane?
Oh, they have one 747. They called themselves the Big Pineapple. And I'll tell some of those stories some other time. It was the seatbelts had buckles on them that said Braniff, because Braniff had just filed for bankruptcy, and they bought one of their planes, or leased one of their planes. Oh,
I feel like that's the thing where you go, I need to change my flight, and they go, well, we'll be back in 3 hours.
They had flight one over. Literally every day they had flight one from LA to Honolulu and flight two from Honolulu, red eye back to LA.
God.
That was it.
That's hilarious.
Like 20 years ago or 25 years ago. I don't know.
Like, how do you know if the flight's going to be late when your pilot calls you and goes, by the way, I haven't gotten to the airport yet?
Oh, wait a minute. Since we're telling these stories, so on our way back on flight two, it left in the afternoon, so it was still light out. And it was delayed, pulling back from the gate. And finally, they pulled the gate away. And before they did, though, these two guys got on the plane in coveralls. And on the back of the coveralls, it said something like, Joe's Aircraft Maintenance. One of them had a big roll of duct tape, but one had a big pot of glue with a brush. And they went to the back of the plane. This is a 747.
Good Lord.
And we sit there for a while. And then pretty soon they come off the plane and they close the door and they pull the gate back. And this is a true story, I swear. As we're backing away then from the gate, or being backed away with the tractor, this little white truck starts following us with the two guys in it. It's like Joe's Aircraft on it. And they're looking at the back of the plane out the windshield of the truck going. And by the time we got to LA on the 747, there were only 2 bathrooms that were working. So
that's about the time that I'd be looking for that beverage card, I think.
Oh Lord!
I would be looking for the handle, like on a bus or a train. Yeah. And pull down and be like, by the way, I left something in the airport. I don't remember what it was, but once
they close the door, there's no going back. Trust me, I tried that on another flight with something else.
I'm pretty sure you could pull the emergency slide and everything going back. Like
you can, Tim. You just have to learn to speak a couple of phrases in Arabic.
Yeah, well,
and I think that might be a good time to talk. Do we have anything else to talk about? Like, I'm putting us back on track.
Yeah.
Actually,
the one thing I was going to ask, because I noticed in my theme that I use a lot, I use the Divi theme. They allow you to do 2 layouts on a page and do an A/B test. Like you do it right in the page, and they give you stuff. Now, do you guys do much of that? Do you guys do much A/B testing?
Got a little bit with Google Optimize, but not a lot.
Yeah, I would be very skeptical of anything that Google doesn't have their hand in. I'd be worried about them getting mixed up about which page is which.
Oh.
Yeah, we do very minor things like change of button color. Or
that's about as deep as we go.
And that's like a long-term A/B test, and only if the dealer is okay with it. The problem is, from our client standpoint, if we try to tweak anything and it doesn't look like their competitors, then we're they won't do anything. So
well, I'm just thinking of that kind of thing, like change a header, like change an H2 tag, on the top of a paragraph, or change the button text or something like that. Yeah.
I would always do it personal. Like I would do it manually and then track your data the way that you normally would, because that's just what my gut feeling is. Sorry, Tim, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's okay. I was just thinking, I have done those sort of things, not change the layout, but just change the wording using Google Optimize. And at least in the tests I did, there were no significant differences. So I've kind of gotten out of the habit. To be honest, for a lot of my clients, they're fairly small. Even my bigger ones are like maybe 5 locations. The search volume just isn't there to really, to draw a lot of conclusions.
It's tough to do that kind of stuff with a small search volume.
Yeah.
Like, in this one of the main spaces that I work in, got half the keywords that I would generally find for a site, and that's only because I've gone to great lengths to find new audiences and add to my visibility that way. And that's actually how I get a lot more visibility than my competitors, is because I'm targeting way different audiences that they haven't even figured out are an audience yet.
Right.
Are you talking about targeting with on-page stuff or with ads or both?
Topics. So, for instance, in the office space, I targeted U.S. customers that there's a program in Canada called the non-resident importer. Basically gives them the right to sell in Canada as if they were a Canadian corporation.
Okay.
But they have to be registered and have phone number, address in Canada. And guess what we do?
Yeah.
As well as have lawyers and anything. Like, this is where I'm thinking with that particular group, I'm opening a community on that site. And all the lawyers and whatnot that are part of that community, I believe, if it's like any of the other communities I've been in before, they're going to use lawyers that are in that community.
Probably so.
As in the dojo and whatnot, that's been the thing that I've seen. A lot of people come thinking they're going to learn this, that, and the other thing. To me, it's all about the networking.
Yeah.
Like,
The respectability, the trust factor. You trust it because they're in here and they're engaged with that audience. That makes perfect sense.
There's also, nobody wants to screw up, because if they do, everybody in the membership knows. And, so they're going to go to the extra length. I've just found that that's I'd be especially interested in what you guys have just joined in the last few years. Have you found yourself maybe using more of the people in the dojo now for your outsourcing, or?
A little bit, yeah.
So in other words, you're going to look internally in the dojo before you start looking externally.
Oh, yeah.
If it's something you think someone in there has expertise in.
Not only because it's low cost time wise if you know somebody already in the group, but it's also you do trust the people, and also where if they screw up something on you, where they live. So
I mean, I've used Tanya a few times to do some coding. That's just beyond me.
Right.
Or it would take me 3 days to write what takes her, 3 hours to write.
Yeah.
The community that is the selling, quote unquote, selling point. I didn't mean to bring that up, but that is the selling point of the community. We're building relationships here through, we were talking about this off air before, but that how we've grown the dojo, I think in the last year and a half, exponentially, by having more resources that we can all turn to from this standpoint.
I know. Of course, I've been, almost since I think the dojo was about 6 months old when I joined, and I worked with 8 or 9 different people in there.
Right, and you've had quite a few of them use your copywriting services.
That too, yeah.
Sure.
First came.
Yep, and it's nice too because you also get to see what somebody's expertise is. You realize, okay, this guy's got a lot more on the ball in that area. Like, I go to Steve when I need PPC because A, I hate PPC, and B, he's one of the best guys around that I've seen for running campaigns. So, right. It's nice because it's not a pig in a poke. You know what you're getting.
Right. I found you can even tell more about the person. Like, I pick up stuff about people that I wouldn't pick up because of just the banter in the room, etc. Right? The conversations that take place. You learn a lot about the way the people think, etc. You know what I mean?
No, it's invaluable. That to me has been aside from the fact that probably for the first 4 years I was in the dojo, hardly a day went by when I didn't learn something new just by shutting up and listening, But the networking has been invaluable.
Yeah, that's been my experience in every one I've been in, and pretty well most of my online experience has been starting with the newsletters and the email discussion groups, then to the fora, then to communities, and then to private communities. And I really believe that the private communities have changed the industry, that it's not the same as it was before.
Yeah, I'd go along with that.
It's getting much harder for people to find people that actually know what they're doing, because a lot of people are in the private communities now, and you never know about them because they don't go out and post socially. That's why they're in a private community.
Right. The conversations that used to happen in a bar have turned into the conversations that you have in a room that no one knows exists. And
right.
And you don't want to change it because one of the reasons you're in the private communities is because you got annoyed with what was happening in the public capability.
The first rule of Fight Club is,
probably.
Guys, I gotta run. I got something coming up at the bottom of the hour. So,
all right, Tim, take care. Have a good one.
Need to get ready. Thanks, everybody. Good to see everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm getting hungry too, so
I'll go ahead and kill this, and thanks everybody for tuning in.